Hi, so today I want to talk about this idea of the multiverse. So instead of us living in this one and only universe, there might be in fact many more, or indeed an infinite amount more universes. Now, having these human brains, it's difficult enough to even try and comprehend the vast scale and age of our own universe. In our observable universe, there's about few hundred billion galaxies, each with around few hundred billion stars. Of course, some galaxies are much bigger, some galaxies are much smaller, but on average, few hundred billion stars, each with vast potential for life. And some people thought, well, that's not enough, we need more. Well, there are many different types of multiverses. One would be our own universe, just extended infinitely. And indeed, our own observable universe, having this boundary that we can see 46 billion light years away, if we somehow magically transport it to that point instantaneously, there is every reason to think that space will continue just the same way as it continues in our observable universe. And the reason for that is that no matter where we look, stuff, galaxies, stars, everything is very evenly distributed. And that makes it quite clear that if our own universe is not infinite, then it might be at least thousands and thousands of times larger than the observable part of this 46 billion light years that we can observe. So yes, one possibility would be that our own universe would just extend infinitely and would have infinite amount of stuff happening in it. That means that if you travel far enough, then you would see everything that is physically possible to happen, including, of course, copies of Earth and copies of you, and indeed an infinite different variety of copies of you and copies of Earth, and all of this amazing stuff that we cannot currently even comprehend or imagine, that is also allowed by the laws of physics. A second type of multiverse would be a multiverse born of the theory of inflation, indeed the theory of eternal inflation. The theory of the Big Bang itself doesn't say anything about what banged or why it banged. It's just a theory of the description of the aftermath, what happened after the creation event. The theory of inflation states, I will somehow try to describe it, is that one of the ways how our universe was born is that space-time itself started expanding more rapidly than even exponential growth. Let's try to imagine it like this. Let's say you have a box of 1 cubic centimeter, and then in 1 billionth of a second, this cubic centimeter of space expands into a billion cubic centimeters of space. Then in the next 1 billionth of a second, each one of those cubic centimeters of space also expands into a billion other cubic centimeters of space. And then again in the next 1 billionth of a second, each one of those cubic centimeters expands into another billion. And then you can try to imagine in your head, although it's impossible, but you can get some idea of how vast just the inflation was. This is what the theory of inflation states, that it's way more than anything in the theory of the Big Bang states. In fact, if anything, the theory of the Big Bang is kind of slowing down and the end of inflation in some region of space. So imagine this vast expansion of space in every direction, although this notion of direction doesn't make any sense, but just space, everything is expanding immensely quickly. And then it's possible that some region of this space-time stops expanding, and from there on, from our universe, that would be observed as a Big Bang happening. The actual stopping of inflation in some region of space, that would be the birth of a Big Bang in our universe. When also in reality, all around our universe, the theory of inflation is still going on, just immense inflation of space, and we live in a pocket universe where inflation has stopped and our own laws of physics take over. And in this theory of inflation, these pocket universes, you can imagine, are born just vast amounts of them, and each one of them would have a different set of the laws of physics. And this is one thing that I think explains really well the absurd unlikelihood of we being in this universe where we are, where all of the laws of physics seem to be finely tuned for life. How insane it is that we are possible, it's possible for us to be alive. These stable human being creatures, that atoms are able to stick together, that stars burn, that liquid water can exist, that chemistry can exist, and indeed that conscious thought can exist. One of the more mind-boggling things for me when I think about that we live in a universe where this is possible. For me, most easily and obviously explained that we just happen to be, of course, in one of these pockets where it's possible for us to exist. And then you can imagine an infinite amount of all these other pocket universes where every possible combination of the laws of physics exists, and also possibly, probably, new laws of physics or fewer laws of physics, more dimensions, less dimensions. It's moments like these when I'm a bit saddened that our imagination is so limited that we can't imagine higher dimensions or what life would be in lower dimensions, or would it even be possible. Of course, the vast majority of universes, nothing interesting would happen, but in a few of them, some really damn interesting things would be happening, like in our own universe. And we're just about to take off with our technological singularity, possibly happening soon with automation and artificial intelligence, changing the nature, the human condition forever, what it means to be human, which we will see in the next few decades unless something stupid happens and we kill ourselves. But this fascinating universe, just by the fact that stable chemistry is able to exist and do its thing. So another possibility of a multiverse would be that we have more than 3 spatial dimensions, that in our universe there are more than 3 spatial dimensions. Which is exactly what I just said. So that would mean that we would have some kind of higher dimensions, and in those higher dimensions a lot of different kind of stuff could happen, and universes could quite literally be overlapping with each other, is one way to kind of imagine that. And the fourth way to imagine multiverses would be by quantum physics, by the theory of many worlds, and that would state that in our universe, when any choice is made, even by a fundamental particle, then the universe splits into 2, where in one universe you do this one thing, and in another universe you do this other thing, and then you can imagine how really quickly the universes branch into near infinity, or what we might as well call infinity, because it's not something special like human beings making choices like do you want to do something, yes or no. It's not that. It's every single fundamental particle making a choice, and if you just think about how many fundamental particles there are in our universe, and if they somehow interact in randomness, you know how quantum mechanics is all about randomness, then really quickly you can get to just absurd amount of universes. The many worlds is just one out of many theories about quantum mechanics, and tries to explain the collapse of the wave function, but that's a whole longer story. I think the many worlds is a really interesting idea, but I would be surprised if it's actually true, and this deserves a video of its own, but it has people strongly defending it. It is fascinating that string theory has been with us for almost around a century, and yet people still strongly disagree what do quantum mechanics actually mean. Like, quantum mechanics is such an exceptionally great way to explain the world, but why these rules are the way they are, why quantum mechanics and fundamental particles behave the way they do, no one can agree exactly as to why. And this is one of these things which I'm really excited to find out what's up with that, what's up with the Heisenberg uncertainty principle, what's up with all of that stuff. So this is just a really general overview of the most mainstream theories of possible multiverses. So I hope this was something interesting. If you have any thoughts, please share them in the comments, and of course, thank you so much for watching, and take care.